Hello, 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 and welcome to another Code Fun stream. Stream about fun with code. I am One Lion, and there's always plenty of time to have coffee. Always plenty of time for coffee, Duke is soft. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. It is Monday, 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 Monday. This needs to move. This needs to go up there. Bot is running. This needs to delete. This can close. I have ability it takes open. These can move into there. That's going to stay there for now. Guys, if you didn't know, today is October 31st, which is Halloween. Hello, Bones. My man is up. What else is on that screen? You belong over there. You belong there. You belong there. You're running. You can close, and you can close. And where's my notepad? You are fine. What a pretty flag. Pan up on that cam. I don't know how to pan up. Are you thinking this is somewhere in Peru? What'd you think I was gonna say? You might be right. You might be right, Duke is soft. The thingy in the top right corner says we are looking out of a window, supposedly. Looks like of a boat somewhere in Copenhagen, Denmark. Well, it is. It is the Danish flag. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? How can you recognize it so easily? Anyway, moving on. Oh, man. My arms have been itching. So, today being October 31 means it's Halloween, and I am not doing anything special other than having candy. And I already had my candy. I pretty much ate an entire bag of snack size Kit Kats. Oh, they're so good. Enough pretty. Let's look at code. Are you calling my code not pretty? Because you'd be absolutely right. We were playing around a little bit with the Maui portion of this just to show that we could launch on Maui. However, I do not want to do that. I want to get to the project and get some stuff done. So for those of you that might be new here, Dukesoft has posted a link to the project. We are working on a financial management tracking application that will allow us to put in whatever financial management tracking stuff that we want to track, such as in Salad. Oh, hey, it's still running. I didn't know it was still running. You were running even when I was doing the Maui stuff? That's cool. So this application is intended for personal use and for learning purposes as a full stack web development application. I've been trying to document record all of my sessions that I've been working on this application. It used to be the case that I could stream my daytime job pretty much 8 hours a day. It was 6.5, I think, in the end, uh, for doing my real world work. So you would see Blazor being used in a real world environment. But since then, I've gotten a new job and I'm not able to stream my work, although I am still using Blazor with my new job and Windows desktop application. So I'm using a Blazor WebView control inside of a WPF app, which could just as easily be put inside of an entire Maui project and then have it be mobile with some tweaks, mobile friendly and cross platform. But what I've decided to do then with the stream, since I can't currently stream my actual work, is I chose a project that would be still the same type of content and something that would be used, but something that you could also get your hands on and use as maybe a sample for how to do things. I don't know. It's really not turning out as clean as I was thinking it was going to. I was trying to do all of the process in a very clean manner with steps such as designing the UI and then implementing the UI, coming up with the actual project definition and scope, such as in the README, and like I said, implementing the UI. And when I was writing the server-side functionality, I wanted to start with writing tests first, and then implement the logic to make the test work in a TDD kind of way. And I believe in our last stream on Community Day, we got our tests to work again, finally, and there's only one failing test. And that failing test is, and this is what I tried to do on Friday so that we can move on with writing the actual code. And that failing test is update deposit. And the reason why is because we have not written the logic for doing the update. And so that's what we're working on today, is finishing up the logic right here. Woohoo! Okay, so the thing that we need to do first is find the matching record in the database. So this would work, except I don't think we have an ID in our data entry view model. Copilot, you're supposed to be smarter than this. Okay, so it is an iTransaction data entry view model, of which we don't have the ID for the record that we are trying to manipulate. And I don't have any composite keys or alternate keys that are a composite key. So I don't really know a good way to ensure that I will be pulling up the correct record from the database without an ID. And so there's a few strategies that come to mind. I don't know if these are real world strategies, if they actually exist or not, but one thing we could do is just add the ID, of course. Transaction ID. And that has its own dangers and stuff, especially since ID is just an auto increment number and not something like a GUID, where it would be hard to guess if someone was trying to brute force get all of the transactions somehow. Another one is to assign an internal GUID for every record that gets sent to the UI. I mean, that'd be a lot of reads and writes because it'd be every single time we do a get for a transaction, we would either store it in a JSON file on disk, put it in memory in a dictionary or some sort of lookup, or put it in the database. Like create a database table that says map this GUID to this transaction ID. So since right now this is going to be an internal project, I'm just going to put the transaction ID inside of the view model that I'm passing back. I don't want it to be too difficult. That said, let's find out where we are implementing this and add the ID property. How are you even, how are you set up so that I can't even see my, wakata, wakata. Let's put you down here instead. Okay, so let's do public int transaction ID, which is not going to be required. Actually, it will be required. We'll just have it set to 0. Put that in you. Did we put that under? Yeah, we did. And we'll put that in transfer. And that should be all of them. Is anyone else trying to implement it? Nope. Nope. Okay, good. So then when I'm populating them, in my transaction entry service on the server, we need to populate the id, which is going to be to view model. So it's going to be easy because it's in one place. So all of these things that I am duplicating, such as in transaction date, let's put down here. Get rid of you, get rid of you. And actually, maybe I'll put it up there. Yeah. Yeah, let's start with this. Oh, I won't be able to put it up there because I need to create a new specific instance first. So yeah, down here works. I'm fine with that. Okay. You. And apparently all of them have account name and account ID. And memo. And then the rest of the leftover items are the ones that are specific to that transaction type. Because lazy. Excuse me, was I not holding Alt? Oh, Alt Shift. Take go. Not region. Just comment. Populate the common properties. That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Copilot. You're so helpful. I use Copilot to write comments. That's about it. Although it did kind of help me make this decision. So then I also need to entity model. Transaction ID. Hello? Oh, that's a detail. My bad. Not detail. I need transaction to entity model. There it is. Ooh, I have a little bit of a headache today. I didn't even notice it until just now. I need to drink more water. Thank you, Dukesoft. Thank you for the water break. I will do. Okay, let's make sure that I didn't break my testises. No. It does too. I just added it. Oh, it's transaction ID. All right. Yes. Let it rebuild. And once it's done rebuilding and running, I will rerun the test. And apparently I'm using .NET 7, at least for building and running from command line. The apps are still targeting .NET 6 though. But in November, once .NET 7 is officially released, we'll be upgrading this project to .NET 7. Which I'm thinking should just be a matter of changing the target framework. Okay, it built successfully. Run. I hate it when it does that. All right, and I didn't break any of the tests. Go me. All right, so now let's update the record, at least according to my next step. Are you going to do it for me? You're not going to do a switch? You're not going to do this for me? Jerk. Piece of mother. So we're going to switch on model. Model? Is that what I called you? Data entry view model. Man, I've been holding my pinky down. It's getting slower and slower, and I don't know if it's just that I'm cold. It has been quite a bit colder in here lately, which is good. I love the cold. But at the same time, my pinky feels like it's been less responsive. I think I need to get an upgrade. Maintenance. Case. Yes. Yes. Next. No. That was exactly what I wanted. And now payment. Oh my goodness. You were doing so well. That was cool. Payment entry. What am I typing? Yes. And finally, transfer. Do you remember that one? Transfer? No. No, I did not get a haircut. I gave myself a haircut. Thank you for noticing, though. Prog testing is in the house. I don't want view model in there. I just want, yeah, get rid of view model. No. He's learning WebRTC and Azure Redis CDN. That's what prog testing is doing. He's also playing with Blazor. Ooh, said he'd never touch that crap. I love Blazor. And he was like, who do I have to blame for this? I was like, yourself. Oh yeah, Maui. Maui specifically. You know what? I forgot that I was going to do it this way. First and foremost, if not, wait, yes, that is absolutely correct. That's exactly what I wanted to do. First, check to make sure that there is a record in the database. If there is not a record, then add an error to our response model and say, I couldn't find that record. What are you doing? It is like Xamarin Forms. I don't think anything has changed. A lot has changed, though. I think maybe the major difference is that you can target windows, which I don't know if you can do with Xamarin Forms or not. Hello, Stony Panda. And also the way that you can do bindings is different when you're using the WPF controls, as well as the controls themselves being better. But again, I haven't used Xamarin Forms, so I don't know whether it is actually better or not. These are just the things that I'm regurgitating. And I don't know if you saw, but this morning on the Visual Studio channel, C# Fritz was showing Maui. I wasn't able to listen in because meetings. But yeah. Anything that you can regurgitate that he talked about? If not, that's completely okay. Ow. Ow. Is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. This is a thing. Update is a real entity framework thing. Begins tracking the given entity and entries reachable from the given entity using the entity state.modified state by default. Generally, no database interaction will be performed until save changes is called. So is this essentially the same thing as asking for context.transactions .entry, no, context.end.entry, update record state, entity state, modified. So where I'm essentially saying use this record as the record for the database in the database, attach it and mark it as modified. Or do I need to attach it first? Ew. So Stony Panda says, I want to ask on the left bar, what is that? Not relevant to topic. Completely okay. You are welcome to ask any questions that come to mind that you feel like. They are telling you in chat that these are vertical tabs. The way you get to them is normally when you open Visual Studio by default, it has tabs across the top. A couple things with Visual Studio 2020, or well, I guess starting with Visual Studio 2019, you could start doing vertical tabs either on the left or the right. And my workflow is generally if I didn't mean to actually close it. If I'm working on a larger project, I normally have my Solution Explorer closed and only the files open that I'm working in on the left. And that way I get more horizontal and vertical space. And then whenever I need a file, I just expand the Solution Explorer and then open it. The other thing that you get with Visual Studio 2022 and beyond is the ability to colorize your tabs based on either the project or the file extension. Now, I wish there were more grouping options, but that's fine. Like, I would want to group also by file extension. Well, I would want to group multiple. I would want to group by project and by file extension. I wish I could show you that my actual work screen. I'm using a 30. What size are you? I'm using a TV for that. And on the left half of the screen, I have the code that I'm working with. And on the right, I have reference code on the top right quadrant. And then on the bottom right quadrant, I have the actual application that I'm working on. And then I have another screen that's my email and my Zoom and Teams, because we use both. And so I have this screen split up so that on the top half of that window, I got most of my Razor components that I'm working in, and then on the bottom half, I have the code behind, or any of the C# or SAS even. I put my SAS files on that same screen. And then within those, I have, I pin some things to the top. So like I have localizations, and I have 4 different projects that I have localizations for. So I pin the localization files so that they always appear at the top whenever I need to add content to a page. First, I add it to localizations, and that, yeah. Stoney's like, too much to track. But it really does feel like a smooth workflow where I'm not changing between windows as often as needing to open up the Solution Explorer, or have the Solution Explorer showing all the time, but I want to go into the code behind for my current file. Let's say that I'm looking at a Razor page that has a code behind. Razor component, I said, not page. So if I'm here and I want to manipulate a new function up here that says on click, do something cool. Now that I've put it up here, then I want to put it in the code behind, which means go into the code behind, and private void do something cool. And it's like, oh man, I meant that I wanted to pass in the, I don't know what's in here, string, no, and some num. So I need to go back to the front and be like, here you go. Here's a number for you. And keep switching back and forth. Instead, I'm just Control Tab and changing my gaze down to the bottom half. So this would be down here. Except I would have much more space because I have a lot more vertical space on this screen. And then I usually have been starting to have my Solution Explorer down here, so it is always open. Red JS files. By Sacred, welcome into the chat. How long have you been programming? It looks easy for you. It's not easy. I think, well, I guess I'll answer your first question. So I've been writing code. Like, I started playing with code early 90s, early to mid 90s on my dad's Commodores. Well, even before then, it was like 80s. So I was born in the 80s, early 80s. But my dad had a Commodore 64, and He had the thick instruction manual thing that you look through it. It gives you code snippets, and then you type them out and you make a ball go back and forth against the screen or make things show up on the screen. So I started with that. Didn't do much actual programming with that. It's not real programming. Not what I was doing, at least. So from there, I was mostly interested in writing and writing stories and just imagination type of things. And I always had this dream that I wanted to be a mad scientist living in a basement, doing inventor type things, creating products, sending them out into the world. No one would know it's me. And then by day, I'm working a normal job um, to sustain life. Then in high school, I did a little bit of QBasic, and then I started getting into VB6 because there was a guy that's like, hey, you keep talking about liking programming. Let me tell you about Mr. Hank Franco. Who I was like, cool. Yeah. So he introduced me to this guy named Hank Franco from Votron. I'm pretty sure it's this guy. Yep, here he is. So this guy here, um, who had a company called Votron, and he was creating a chatbot type of thing. And so he wanted to get me involved. I was 17 at the time. I was going to be 18 the next year. I was graduating high school. He's like, well, here, sounds like you're interested in this. Here is a copy of VB6 with the MSDN. It was like 6 CDs or something like that. And it was probably $2,000 to $3,000. And he just gave it to me. He's like, here, start playing with this. So I started messing with that. And this was around 1998 that I was doing that. And then on 1990 or 2000 is when I started college. And that's where I was like, yeah, I definitely want to do programming. It's a type of inventing. I've always wanted to be an inventor. So starting in 2000, I was like, I want to do programming. I want to do software development. I want to create stuff. What part of it? I don't know. I just wanted a computer science degree. So give me the whole thing of it. And I found out that I sucked at school, especially when I was left to my own devices. I was really, really bad at school. It was mostly the UGE classes, the undergrad classes that were expected for everyone to take, like some sort of physics, chemistry, biology, and I think it was like 2 out of the 3 that we were supposed to take as computer science as engineers. The math classes weren't so bad. I still didn't like them, but they weren't terrible. Speech, English, politics, economics, all of those classes. I hated them so much. And I failed. I failed a lot. I'm wearing my costume. You don't see my costume? I'm dressed as a middle-aged software developer. So basically you've done it longer than I've been alive, probably. But yeah, I haven't done real software development, I'd say, until starting around 2011. And that's when I was telling my whole long story, and I don't need to. 2011, I started doing .NET related stuff, and I've been doing .NET since then. So about 11 years in .NET. Maybe 2009. I can't remember when that first visit to Virginia was. I'm trying to learn C as my first language, and I'm so lost. I don't even know where to start. So C was my first language that I learned because formal education says you need to learn C, C++, those machine level languages first. And then you can do stuff like Java and and then there was assembly mixed in there somewhere, which was fun. I liked it. But I never had any formal education for C#. So I don't know about learning C as your first language, but like Bob Ross did it, who was 13 when he was learning it. Starting computer science next fall, so that's why I'm starting with C. Yep. So that formal education system saying you need to start with C. So if there are any aspects of it that you are confused about, definitely feel free to hop into our Discord and ask questions there. We have a ton of people that are happy to answer and help. Please don't feel like a noob. Well, even if you do feel like a noob, don't feel like being a noob is a bad thing. I will claim to be a noob for my entire life. But yeah, Irish John Games is here. Let me just give him a quick shout out. This guy is amazing. Here's this.
Mm. Mm.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm.
Mm. And it's going to cut you off before you get to a good point.
Mm-hmm.
30 seconds of it. Yes. Do you have any beginner tips on projects? In C, not really. The things that I would recommend when it comes to this style of trying to learn programming is to start off with learning the basics. So find a good course. Copper Beardy with a raid. Holy cow. Let me get, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate you. Goodness griefus. Copper the Beardy.
The blooming program just threw me back up. Well, if you want to put him in the yeah, you can do.
Whoa. I'm sorry, what? I don't know that I would have been able to follow along with that. Holy cow. Thank you so much for the raid, though. I was trying to give a little bit of advice to Bisacred for where to get started on learning C. And the difference between, that's kind of funny that there's a C++ free code camp course. Maybe you could start with that. And head up from there. That was an old clip of my Morning Marbles stream. What's a Morning Marbles stream about? I've only been to your stream a few times. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a bad person. But I do appreciate you being here. If you guys don't know Copperbeardy, I've watched him do a bit of streaming. He's also a developer. Having fun. I love watching developers. Streaming, where last he was doing anxiety-driven development. Oh man, I need to sign up for these. No idea why I'm not followed. I'm followed now. It feels terrible. I'm trying to give advice here. So yeah, I know it's C that you're trying to learn. Oh, prog testing was asking. So yeah, just start off with learning the fundamentals of object-oriented programming, especially if this is your first programming language. Look for videos and articles that are related to learning fundamentals or what are they called? Rudiments of object-oriented programming. Practice every single day. Don't skip a day. And it could just be anywhere from 15 minutes to a few hours of learning. But the more you do it every day, the more natural it'll start getting. And actually, here's C# Fritz's video on C#. The difference between learning that kind of thing and learning something like .NET development is you have so much boilerplate stuff that's given to you in .NET coding that you really could just get started by finding the type of project that you want to do. Do you want to do web development? Do you want to do desktop development, mobile development, cross-platform development, whatever? You can find a topic on it and just watch a tutorial, do that tutorial, reverse engineer it, keep doing it over and over and over. But I do have one good video for learning C#. At least I think it's a good video, but that's not going to help you at the moment. But at the same time, it will help you because it's still object-oriented programming. It's just you won't see pointers, you won't see memory allocation or deallocation or destructors, like manual destructors. You won't see any of that because C# is a very memory managed application where, or programming language where they do everything for you behind the scenes. So yeah, point is, I would start with basics of variables. What are they? How to use them? Functions. What are they? How to use them? Flow. If statements. So flow controller, if statements, loops, and switch. All of these kinds of things. So yeah, prog testing is reaching out. He's saying I can ask other C developers for you for where to get started with C development. Are you in the Discord server? If not, I think it hasn't been posted for a minute. Discord. There is a link to our Discord. Feel free to hop in. Again, no requirement. You could always just keep asking here in the channel's chat. But those would be my recommendations. Where are we? Okay, so for those of you that are new here and are still hanging about, my name is One Lion-ish, kind of. Sometimes it's 11D Lion, sometimes it's 1-1, sometimes it's 2 lions, but it's just 1 line. Easiest way to say it. You are welcome by Sacred. I am a .NET developer working with Blazor, and I used to have a job that allowed me to stream my daytime job so that we could all work together on this real world application that was used by actual people. And since then I had gotten a new job, and with that new job I'm not able to stream my work, so I decided to come up with a project that we're going to work on together as a stream, but still implementing the same programming principles and practices that you would do if you were working on a for real project. Those things being design. Dang it, I keep closing the actual GitHub for it. Those things being the design aspect of it, where we come up with a project topic, sketch out some things that we want that project to do, come up with some technologies that we want to use, do some brainstorming about how we want it to look. And I forgot 11D Lion too. Speaking of 11D Lion, I'm also a little bit all over the place. YouTube came up with a way for you to use handles, or I think they call them handles, where you can do youtube.com/@ and then the name that you choose is your handle. And so I was like, yeah, I'll pick 1-1 Lion because that's the name of my YouTube channel. That's where I am on YouTube. 1-1 Lion. However, hold on, let me turn this down real quick. I'm getting a call from one of my coworkers, but they know that I'm unavailable during this time. So I'll call him back after the stream. So I was trying to pick 1-1 Lion, and it said it was already taken by someone named Randall, whose name has nothing to do with 1-1 Lion. And it was like 1-1 Lion, not just 1 lion, but 1-1 Lion. I'm like, huh? What? So I went ahead and picked, at least for now, 11D Lion. So I need to, or I think I updated my YouTube YouTube. Is today Tuesday? No, tomorrow's Tuesday. My bot message for YouTube. I guess we'll find out at the end of the stream. But I'm pretty sure that I updated it to use 11D Lion. Just because that's what you guys name me. I'm going with it. I like it a lot. Okay, so we went through the idea concept process. We even did some whiteboard where I was writing out with hand, pencil, pen thing. And we came up with some UI design, and then I implemented the UI design in the actual application. Oh, I don't know why I'm trying to go to a different window. So this is kind of it. It needs quite a bit of work, but I just needed something to scaffold out the rest of the project. So landing page, no actual sign-in functionality, but the UI is there. And then the actual data entry portions of the application, which I now have hiccups. And I broke it. I don't know why I broke it, but it's broke. Okay. Point is, I didn't break my test with all of the changes that I just made. So what we're doing is we're trying to employ good programming practices at the same time as making a side project, which I know not very many people are interested in side projects. Everyone on YouTube is doing side projects, and it's because we can't stream our for real world work. But I still want to convey knowledge and information about good structure, good programming principles, as well as learn. So I'm trying to improve myself by learning from all of you what types of things that I could be doing better or better approaches for things. Like one thing I wanted to learn with this project is test-driven development. I really haven't used that. And so I started down a path that is test-driven development, where I wrote all of these tests out first, and now I am implementing all of the functionality to make those tests pass. And you can see that all of my tests have passed except for this update deposit test, which I am now working on implementing. And as soon as I do the update, then it should work. So my question just now was, with Entity Framework, is this update method the same as doing an attach and marking it as modified for an entity that's created outside of a DB context, outside of doing a query for the record that's being modified? Mm-hmm. So this update is actually an upsert according to, man, I wish I could get, oh, I can. According to this paragraph here, if the entity that you're updating has its primary key value set, which is all of my entities because I use a primary key that's an auto-incrementing integer, then if its primary key value is not set or set to default, for example, 0 in my case, then it will be tracked as added, so a new record. Otherwise, it will be tracked as modified. So yeah, I'm going to try that and see if doing just that works from creating my database entity from my passed in data entry view model. And then we save it, and then we send back the affected record ID. Okay, so do you pass? Does it pass? Does it work? No. Oh, I was showing this thing, right? Ops. That's what you get for modifying live code. Oh. Try again. This time better. This time don't suck. But yeah, playing marbles on stream whilst me talking about random stuff. That's what Copperbeardy was doing. Or during that clip, at least. Or, no, sorry, that's what a marble stream is. Good grief. See my brain? It works. I'm super distracted, mostly because there is so much going on. When I got this new job, I was expecting to work with a team, and I was mostly working by myself on a team. And I did my part of the project that I was hired to do. And now I've been a lot more involved with the the stuff that the company does outside of my actual client project, as well as taking lead roles for various portions of the client project. And it's been so busy. I was definitely not expecting it to be that busy. Anyway, look, we have a green. Green means something about not using that many fossil fuels and something. Marbles on stream is oddly fun to watch, says Dugasoft. I don't know what I did with all of my marbles. I think I lost them. Ha. But I did used to collect a lot of marbles. Oh my goodness, we got passing tests. So since we have passing tests, that should mean, oh, where's the app? I closed it. Control-Shift-Tab. Okay, that should mean that our deposits is fully functional. If I try, oh, right. Adding it to my list. Well, anyway, what is today? I don't know. Let's say that we're buying something from, oh, why didn't that populate? I thought we added an account to the database and told this thing to populate the accounts and all of our dropdowns. So that one is hard-coded. But this list should be coming from our actual lookup list service. Excuse me, why for come your accounts are not getting populated? Because accounts is null. Get lookup items, account view model. Hide a suit. Lookup item cache, which gets populated on initialize. Wait, what? It's still being hard coded. Huh? Nani? I don't know why I don't have any accounts in my dropdown. Nor deposit raisins. Oops, I'll tab. Okay, I need to figure out why my accounts aren't populating, but first, we're gonna hop in, but first. We're going to duplicate these tests now that they are working correctly for my transfers and for my payments. So let's do that. There you go. Duplicate, duplicate, transfer. So these transactions that I'm talking about with these classes, by the way, are financial transactions. They're like you pay for something and you want to track that you paid for a thing with your credit card or with your checking account, or you moved money from your checking to your savings because you're a good person that likes to save. Or you're getting paid by someone else, so a deposit. For marbles? You have APIs for that in the US? Probably. Yeah, so what I think you're about to ask me is why not just use one of the existing services out there like Mint or something else to do it for you automatically? Which one is this? No, I was not going to ask you that. Then what were you going to ask? What file is this? This is payment. And now spam. I was wondering how you track it directly from the purchases. I don't. I do not. So all of this is intended to be manually tracked. So right now, the whole purpose of this is I currently have an Access database file that connects to a SQL database with all of my transaction information already. And I want to replace my Microsoft Access application with a Blazor application. I've been wanting to do this for a million billion years. And so yeah. So this is a question, but it's in the form of a statement. Hello, Divio. Divio says it's a bad practice to use more than one repository in a service, question mark. Like in payment service, are you using user repository and payment repository? I'm not using repositories. So I don't know if that answers your question. I mean, it kind of looks like repositories, but they're really not. They are services, which you know, obviously, because you refer to them as such. Let me finish moving these out real quick and getting it so that it can build. It's just me being lazy, if you can tell. Okay, so there's you that I changed to payment, and where did my transfer one go? And you, then I'm changing to transfer. Okay, so to explain this architecture, let's get this thing up here and a little bit bigger. My architecture kind of follows MVVM with services. So if you've ever seen the James Montemagno video where he was talking about MVVM-S, that's kind of the same approach that I use. My view models are actually just data transfer objects, so I know it's probably not the best thing to call them view models, but I do. My view models are POCOs for the most part. They have very little functionality. They're pretty dumb. My controllers, if I am using controllers on my API, are also dumb. They are just passing whatever request comes in over HTTP to a service on the server that says, do these things. So I'm running both Blazor Server and Blazor WebAssembly side by side, as well as Maui. So I have all three project types in here as my entry point to the application. The Blazor Server project is the API backend. It is, here are all of my deposit controller actions. So I have an API/deposits that I send requests to. And the only thing that that does, like I said, is it sends forward the request to the appropriate what's it called? Service action. So this one would be put update, whoops, update, and this one would be delete. Oh my goodness, I can't type. I cannot type. I'm going in like 3 different directions. I'm sorry about that. Which will only get the ID. And actually, am I expecting the ID as a parameter? I think I might be expecting the ID as a query string parameter. So let's do it as a from query. Okay, I'm trying to explain this. No, not deposit, delete. Okay. So my API controller is just get put post delete, get post put delete, whatever. Which there should be two gets actually, because one of them will be get by ID and the other one will be get all for the given range of records. So a paged way of getting records kind of thing. So anyway, you can see that the only thing that I have here in my controller is the service itself that's getting injected to perform these operations. So I have a service that is defined in an interface that says these are all of the methods you can do if you must implement if you're going to implement this service. I'm using a generic. I don't typically have it this confusing. I don't usually use generics with my interfaces, but it made sense here because I have 3 different transaction types that all have the same basic structural format and functionality, but slightly different implementations. I don't know if that made sense. So instead of writing multiple interfaces and dependency injecting multiple concrete implementations, I just wrote one interface. But just imagine that this was not a generic. Imagine that this was just an iTransaction entry service. So what I do is I dependency inject that into, or not dependency inject yet. I implement it in 2 different ways. I implement it in a way that says if you're going to be calling this from a client-side application, then you will use HTTP client to do API requests and parse those responses. If you are a server technology and you are implementing this, then you will do the actual database operations or file system operations or whatever, and send back the expected response. But it's one interface implemented on the client side and the server side. That said, my database repository is just Entity Framework using a DB context, making the changes to the entities, where the service methods are the repository methods essentially. So that was probably confusing. I hope it wasn't. So Divio said, in part, but I'm using services and repositories, and I'm requesting info from another repository, but I don't feel that I'm using it properly. Okay, so it'd be like if for some reason my deposit transaction needed to get information from my lookup tables. Yeah, I don't really. I've tried using the repository pattern before, but there's just so many things that don't match my programming style, I guess. So it just feels awkward for me to try to implement it using my patterned approach. This thing is in the way. I'm trying to read my email from work, just in case this is something urgent. Okay. So they're trying to send out our first batch of translations. And what we do is we gather all of the known translated content for our application. So let's say this here. this, oh, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this needs to be localized. All of my response messages that have the opportunity to be displayed on screen, which is anything that's added to my response message as an error, as opposed to an exception, these will be presented to the end user and should be inside of a localized string, which means that I need to dependency inject a localized service on the server as well. Anyway, did I cut myself off from anywhere? Something about using repositories, and I just don't like that pattern. I've tried it a few times. Someone that is really good at using repositories, though, is Patrick God on YouTube's. So let's go to YouTube's. So this YouTuber, oh, there it is. This e-commerce project. He uses the oops, I meant to go to this one specifically. He uses repository pattern, and I just can't follow it. But I know that it's a good pattern when you're able to understand it and use it well. And prog testing says that he only uses it. But yeah, this might be a good reference for being able to understand if you're using the repository pattern correctly or not. This sounds tasty. This goes on my watch later. Is that what this is? That's what that is. Okay. Anyway, moving on. I want to get this project done because I'm kind of ready to move on to the other technologies that I am super duper interested in, of which I have talked about many times before. Ooh. Those are not sentences. They are titles, which is why they are listed like that. Oh my gosh. Okay, where are we then? We are working on finishing out the other two services. So I just created the tests for payment entry and transfer. There are going to be a couple of things that need to be updated, which are knowing what fields that we actually need to look at. Oops, not control Z. Wrong button. I want to know if there are any other fields that I can compare here. Oh, right. Yes. So there's source account ID and target account ID. All right. What else? And as I was looking at this, my entire point behind writing these tests was to make unit tests. And after looking at everything that I'm asserting, I think I'm actually making functional tests. Again, this is an area that I am not the most knowledgeable about, is writing tests, especially writing tests before writing the actual functionality. But I'm essentially saying when you run this get all, you should be giving me back all of the records that I had set up in the database before doing the actual get all, as opposed to a unit test that says, I'll do my setup, you'll do the get all, and I'll just make sure that you gave me a result back that was not an error or an exception. This unit of work completed successfully. Whether we got the right data or not, I don't know. But this is actually checking to see, did we get back the right data? Okay, so same thing here, where I want to compare all of these. In place of those. So we get transaction date memo, and then these three. Assert equal will be expected view model. Well, that's consistent, isn't it? Returned view model. And no this thing. We're creating a new record here, so I need to put in my source account value text, which is going to be from checking to savings. And then we check. Oh, wait. Oops. Shh, nobody saw this. Shh. Copy those two. In pasta. To add. And then the returned record. Aha, which we need to get from here. Oh, there is only one target account. Right, and the transaction itself will have the account ID. Okay. Okay. And that's actually the target account. I swapped those two. Pasta, swap. Wait, what? Crap, how am I doing this? Maybe that was right. We're transferring from this account to this account. Interesting. I wonder. I don't really know if that's how I told it I wanted it to be coded. Whoops. Oh my goodness. These are the wordings that were agreed upon by and analyzed spells with the Z in the US. Oh my goodness. Let me respond. I am currently not able to fully respond to these yet, but will be able to after 12:30 MDT. Okay. Where are we? We're somewhere down here. Simmer down now. This is an update where we're just generating random records. We're modifying the record. We're checking to make sure that the modified values got changed. And deleting. Cool. So that should be it for transfer. Now payment. So a payment is you bought something crap. Testing this is going to be annoying. You bought something and you wanted to enter it into your transaction tracking. So it's the pay to, I think, that I really care about. Pay to ID. Payee. And then amounts are all total. Payee value text. Account value text. And then I need to add line items. Can you not infer the type because you're an I collection? Come on. What are you? Payment detail view model. What are you doing? You were doing so well earlier. You were being helpful, Copilot. Or unless, yeah, you can only use one or the other. I was going to say unless that was IntelliCode. I don't think it was. Okay. Line item ID dot to string amount. Sure, 100. No memo. That doesn't go in here. Stop it. And then we'll add one more to act like we have sales tax or something. I know what I pushed. And that'll be like, I don't know, 13 bucks. Line items. They're called, what did I call them now? Payment details. Some amount. But I could have sworn that I actually gave my payment a helper, a not mapped helper. Maybe not. For now, we'll just say not. Okay, for everything else, I'm just going to ignore. We're going to call that good. I wrote all of my tests for payments and transfers. Go me. So they should all fail. Or no, they should all pass, actually. And the reason they should pass is because, once again, I only have one interface, regardless of the type of transaction, and then the implementation for that interface here, that's client, this is server, that just takes the type of transaction, but it's the same logic. And because I wrote the logic for how to turn a view model into an entity in the extension methods, oh, wait, some of them shouldn't be finished. So to view model, for example, is finished. Which one of you guys is not finished? To entity model? To entity model is not finished. There you go. Good, good. payee ID, and then line items. Nope. Payment details. Payment details, close. I think I already wrote an extension method for this too. Oh, come on, just give me my actual. It only wants to give me the Copilot suggestion. Where are all of my details? Line items. It was called line items. To entity model. Okay. That was down here. Payment detail. IEnumerable of payment detail view model. So I should be working with an IEnumerable of payment detail view model. So an I collection is an IEnumerable. So that should work. And then the to entity view model. Why don't you like this? You really can't use an extension for IEnumerable for an I collection, even though an I collection is an IEnumerable. Something doesn't seem right about that. Well, we can make it easier. I have two options. I can either write an extension method directly on iCollection, which I think is the route that I'm going to go. So this iCollection, which is going to do this. Instead of rewriting the same method, we're going to call model.asEnumerable to viewModel. Do I want to do it that way? I mean, this is just one line of code, so I'll go ahead and repeat code once. I mean, I'm reusing this method anyway, the real method for it. And you're telling me that you still don't have an extension method? This iCollection. Oh, because that's just a regular payment detail. I need to entity model. Is that what I'm going to? Entity model. Whoops, my bag. Just kidding. Probably don't need this. Actually, should be able to do this. My bag. And now you're, oh, we're good. Okay, so now you should be good. Except that this probably needs to be to listed. So we can't convert an IEnumerable to an iCollection. There's another trip. So yeah, maybe we do need an eye collection. Yeah, I don't know how to create collections. I don't know how to create collections. Do entity view model. Cannot convert from IEnumerable to iCollection. Is there a .to collection? Doesn't look like it. And there was no as collection either. Can I do as queryable? Maybe, oh, duh. We can just to list it because a list is a collection. That's fine. I'll materialize it. I'm okay with that. Okay, and the last one is, are those the only extra fields that I had in here? Why are you giving me everything? I just want the properties for this. We got the payee, we got the transaction, and then we got the details. Yeah. Cool. Should be good. I wonder if I actually should be populating the transaction IDs now that I've added them. Transfer. Thank you. No transfer reason. Source account. Oh no. 12 seconds. I need to hop away for a quick. Hold. Only target account, right? You only have the target account. Because the source account is the account ID. We found that out earlier. And then we have the total. What else do we got? Just those two. Great. Okay, what do you say now? Now that we have written out the actual converting from a view model to an entity model, yeah. Are you going to pass for me? All of them fail. And they fail because an assert failed. Which assert? Here, 138. Result was error. We're getting an actual was error. Yay! Okay, so in add, let's debug this test and find out what the error is. Oh, we don't need these breakpoints anymore. Thank you, though. Okay, so we are adding a new, what should be payment. For account ID 1 with 2 line items. One that's $100 and another one that is $13 with a total of 113 with a transaction date of January 1st, 2022. No transaction ID because we are creating a new one. So are you about to tell me that my model is invalid? Oh, it is valid. Okay, so it's not that. We created a new DB context from our factory. We created a new transaction. We're creating a new payment type of transaction, which is turning our view model into a payment entity, a transaction entity that has, are my payment details? A payment record with 2 payment details, one that's a $13 and one that's a $100. No missing fields, everything else is populated. The account ID is 1. Date entered is today at 6:01 UTC. ID is 0. Hello, Max. Happy Monday to you. How are things going? Did you get the thing resolved with the scaling? Yes, I saw Ghost Ninja was helping you. I think it was Ghost Ninja. Really, really grateful for that. Okay, so we added the new one. We try saving changes, and it says required properties detail was missing. What? I thought that I just checked to make sure that everything was not null. Detail is not nullable. All right, what is detail then? Excuse me. Can you at least tell me the type? No. Wait, what? Where is... Oh, yeah, it's a nullable string. So why is it telling me that detail is required? Oh, I think we had this issue before. Fun fact, What's Up is from a horror movie. Happy Halloween. It's from Scare Tactics. No, kidding. Sorry. I used to watch that show, Scare Tactics, and actually enjoy it, which I'm ashamed of, but I'm saying it out loud. Tester tree. Hi, Eagle. Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm testing. I'm testing right now, and actually my test helped me to find some errors. Okay, I'm doing TDD. I promise. Guys, if you have not, guys, I'm starting to sound like Irish John. If you haven't followed Eagle Hansen yet, Eagle Hansen is an amazing developer. He's awesome. He works a lot with Blazor, and I don't know what other technologies you really work with, but his work with a testing framework called BUnit is really, really impressive. I am currently using BUnit to do my testing. I haven't gotten to the point where we're actually testing components yet, but with BUnit, you'll be able to test your actual components, your Blazor components in an isolated kind of way, where if you have this like critical component that is supposed to function a very specific way and you want to make sure that JavaScript is being called when it's supposed to be called, or that it's rendering with specific content the right way, or it's appearing or not appearing when it's supposed to or not supposed to, etc., then BUnit is a way to write test in a unit test for your components in a familiar way, in a comfortable way, where it's a lot like writing regular unit tests, and you have this syntactic kind of language for checking to see if things exist. And it's really cool. You don't believe how foggy it is in Germany? I bet you it is. Okay, well, thank you so much for stopping by, Max, and I'm really glad to hear that you're able to get the scaling working in your site. Oh. Okay, so apparently my detail property is being told that it's not allowed to be null. Fine, man. So in payments, in transaction details, it's called payment detail. Why is this still called transaction detail? It's not null. Huh? Nani? So first of all, I could have sworn that we renamed this entity to payment detail, but I probably didn't. I probably just renamed the class and didn't rename the property. So let's do a little bit of database work real quick. Payment detail. Yep. It's still called transaction details. Yeah, and it doesn't make sense to call it transaction details because it's only for a payment type of transaction. So let's go ahead and rename this. First of all, before I do that, I'm going to check in my current work locally. Added tests for payment and transfer transactions, service transactions. That says server. Maybe transaction services. Updated extensions for creating. What is it called? Entity models from view models. I almost pushed. I said locally. Okay, so we're going to do this database update stuff where I'm going to rename this to payment details. Alphabetize it because it's important. And then I'm going to make sure that in my payment details, we have detail as required. I purposefully put required in there. Did I mean to? So when you're thinking about this and you're doing a transfer, you're saying I'm transferring from this account to this account this much money. I don't even have a space to enter detail. I have a space to enter memo, but not a detail. So I don't think that I even should have this field in my payment detail. This was specific. Oh, I was talking transfer. We are not doing transfer. We're doing payments, guy. Good grief. Okay, so that's this. Yeah, so absolutely, I do not want detail to be required. This is like if I have a service fee of some sort, or maybe even tax. Let's say that I wanted to track all the way down to county tax, as well as state tax. Where do I get my ideas for side projects? So this one came from, I am already using my own little financial management tracker, but it's written with Access and VBA, so VB macros, and a companion Excel workbook that connects to the same database that that one connects to do all of my projections and tracking how much money I believe I'm going to have by the end of the year if I keep my current spending, and then what it would look like if I spent less, or what would it look like if I cut out these streaming services, how much would I be saving a month, kind of thing. And I wanted that all to be in one big app for myself. I know that there are apps out there like Mint that could automatically connect to accounts and then show you these kinds of trends, but I still think that because I'm entering all of these myself, I'm on top of it more and I'm more cognizant of it. So that's how I came up with this project idea. Plus, I also wanted a Blazor project to do on the stream. So yeah, if I needed to come up with another type of project, I would look at what are the things that I'm interested in right now, which are VR, AR, and mixed reality in general, and the metaverse. And I would come up with some kind of project that would satisfy being able to do something with those technologies. So it's really based off of what am I really interested in right now? What do I want to learn? That kind of thing. And here, this one again, what do I want to use? And that is, I want a better way to track my own finances. And I just happen to make it open source because I'm trying to use good programming practices so it can be out there. For anyone else that wants to contribute or that wants to learn from it, no guarantees that you're going to learn a lot or that it's all going to be exactly good and appropriate, but I'm trying my hardest to keep to what I believe are good programming practices. So hopefully they won't steer you astray if you use it as a resource for learning. But yeah, hello Escandiusi. So they're saying really nice because like the only ideas I have are not that challenging, neither the ideas that I find online. So what kind of software development are you doing or wanting to learn? Oh, there. Like, are you doing something that's targeting web environments? Are you trying to do, like I'm trying to do, augmented reality, virtual reality? You just want something to do on your free time. Cool. Do you have a specific language or preferred language? It's required. Not required. C#. Awesome. Cool. One of the topics that came up that has the potential to be anything from super easy to pretty complex depending on what you do with it is some kind of bug tracker. And I credit Nerd Herder with this, who comes up with this a lot. A bug tracker or a a bug tracker is essentially just something that while you're developing, you enter in, these are the bugs that I'm having that I need to fix. So that sounds like it could be as easy as a to-do list. Or it could be as complex as the actual Kanban board or work items that you would have in something like Azure DevOps. And then depending on how you want to do it, you could have some sort of backing mechanism like a database, or you could just store it all locally in the browser in local storage, or you could use IndexedDB. So yeah, then it's choose your difficulty level from that point. So thank you to NerdHerder for that one. Awesome stuff. I like suggesting it. I stole it. I don't know why this one is like explicitly said is required and false. Maybe this was reverse engineered at some point in time. Did I scaffold this from an existing database? Maybe. Maybe. But yeah, is required false. The default for is required is true, but if is required is not there, then it's not required by default. So anyway, we're going to update that. You are welcome. I hope it works out. And of course, if you can't come up with your own after a while, just go on to GitHub, find C# projects where people are looking for contributions and see if you can contribute to them. Help them with their more complex situations. Because if you're looking for a challenge, read someone else's code and try to help them resolve whatever issue they're going through. I would think that that's pretty challenging. Like right now we have this functionality. Actually, this one's really hard for me because I'm trying to come up with a good solution that is acceptable to the existing team. I started working at the company that I'm working at in May, and I came here at, it's a contracting company, it's Sagetti, and the views and opinions expressed on this channel are my own and not necessarily the views and opinions of Sagetti, just so you know. So the project portion, or the project itself is something that existed for the client. There's a team in place that is maintaining that project and making improvements on it. And my role was to redesign the UI, or not redesign, someone else redesigned the UI, implement a new design for the UI in Blazor for a desktop application, which is super fun, just so you know. So I implemented that new UI design, and now I'm kind of hooking up all of the existing functionality from the existing app into the new UI. And one of the things that's going on is because they only had one UI that they were using, and the UI that I redesigned it into has two different versions. One that's if you're on a commercial machine, like a company machine, you should see this view of the application. If you're on a consumer machine, so you download this for your home computer, then you should see this version of the application. And then there are two skins for this version. One's a light mode, one's a dark mode, even though I think this one should also have dark mode, but that's okay. And then they have the classic one, so the one that was already in place. I didn't touch that, so that if they ever need to roll back to that classic view and release a new version of the original UI, as I'm making the changes with the new UI, they can still just have it point to the classic UI, create a new installer, ship that as a new release if they needed to. So in doing that though, because they had this one component library as their base UI, they have functionality in the WPF application that's looking for a specific component from that UI. Specific, that's kind of hard to say, component from that component library. And because I'm not using that component, when I try running this functionality, it's like, this component is null. And I'm like, yeah, it's null. You shouldn't have to know about a specific implementation, which would be the UI portion. The back-end logic shouldn't have to know about this very specific component existing. So I'm coming up with a better, I'm hoping, better approach, and I'm kind of stuck on it because it's like I also don't want to replace their existing architecture, but I need it to because there's no other way to run this functionality. And yeah, and it's just so weird to me because um, we have tests that are, how to word this? We have functionality in a completely separate library, completely separate repository that says whenever you run me, I'm going to tell you what UI to use to interact with me. That way they can plug in whatever thing they want back here and display whatever UI they want to interact with it by just adding a new, they're called tools, adding a new tool. And it's just, it feels weird having a backend service provide its own UI. But I'll get over that. Oh man, almost out of water in this bottle. Okay, I wanted to update this database to get this table named the correct thing and remove required from this field. So I made the needed changes. I'm going to go ahead and stop the app, and we're going to do some migrations. Already set. Down here now. Set as startup. Cool. Okay, so I should be able to add a new migration to rename transact. I'll just call it transdebt to pay debt. Something like that, which will also remove the nullability, non-nullability, remove the non-nullability of this detail column. That's going to give me back the code needed to make my database look like this. So we are changing the column detail to be nullable here. And that's it. What happened to changing the table's name though? Are you not going to rename the table for me? Let's find out. Script migration. It's acting like the table. Oh, the rename refactor. Wait, no. Oh no, that's the name of my migration. I'm sorry, what? So this table is currently called transaction details in the database, and I'm trying to rename it to payment details, which already exists. Wait, what? Create table payment details. Yes, that is correct. So what am I looking at? Angie SQL, which is the database that we're playing with. Are you not called Finance Man? Are you called something else now? I don't know. Let's just try it. I thought so. Cannot find object payment details because it doesn't exist or you don't have permissions. You're confusing. Let's open up this table. Thought so. Okay, so this is definitely the right database. What we're going to do is delete the database. And have it recreate the database from scratch. That's making me motion sick. Too much candy. Anyway, Irish John Games, love that shout out for his fantastic game, Rise of Piracy, coming out in early access later this year. He's been working really hard at it. He's been kicking names and taking butt. So much fun being on his stream, by the way. So definitely give him a check if you have not seen him. Give him a check. Check him out if you have not seen his stream before, or if you have. Just always a good time. He will be streaming in about 1.5 hours, or starting his stream in about an hour and a half or so. Yeah. That's that. The end. Database updated. Let's set the right project to my start. Actually, I don't even need to change my starter project. I just need to relaunch. I don't even need to relaunch. What are you doing? I know, phone. I know. So we're almost done with the stream for the day, but I want to make sure that this thing does work. We're going to check to see if these tests are now passing. First, let's make sure that I didn't break any of our existing tests. I'm also going to chew a hole through my lip. All right, so all of the deposit tests that we made sure worked before are still working, and now our payments tests. So if add fails, hopefully it's not because the detail was required, but because of something else entirely. Good. And the reason is because total, which is 113, is not equaling the sum of all of the payment details. And it's probably because we aren't getting our payment details back. So let's get our payment details back. All right, let's try this test again. No, I didn't need to debug it. I just wanted to run it. I will put you here and here in case I ever accidentally run with debug. And it worked. Awesome. All right. Issue with you is that there are 19 that don't match. Let's go ahead and see if any of the tests pass for transfer and which ones fail. And what we'll do is on Wednesday, which is when I'll be streaming again, all of the tests pass and transfer. On Wednesday, when I stream again, we will be finding out what is wrong with my two getters, why those tests are failing, and how I can make them better. Cool. So for now, I am going to head off back to work. I'm going to be grabbing a quick lunch snack because I'm starting to get dizzy. I really meant it when the scrolling text was making me dizzy. I don't know why I kept staring at it. But yeah, I'm going to take us on over to another developer. He just happens to be a game developer, but I really, really enjoy his work. He's making a game that is inspired by Half-Life and Portal. And so we're going to head over to his channel. His name is Simple Game Dev. I just need to find my raid button. Simple Game Dev. But yeah, definitely make sure to check out all of the fun, wonderful people that showed up in our chat. Eagle Hansen, Irish John Games, the people that haven't shown up in our chat that are part of our community. So Soft as in Software, Swaymer, who I haven't seen him stream for a little while, Captain Commerce, X Coding, bunch of other people that I'm not coming up with off the top of my head. But until the next time, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. If you feel like hanging out with me, I'll be hanging out on Simple Games channel, Simple Game Dev's channel, and then when Irish John starts streaming, I'll be lurking in there too. So yeah, that'll be it for me until Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, provided there are no surprises that come up that make me pull my hair out, cancel, etc. Anyway, okay, I'm done talking. Ciao. See you on the laters. Shalom. Cheers. Bye.